Welcome, mortals and mischief makers, to my podcast where charisma meets chaos and sometimes we let billionaires in. I'm your host, Loki of Asgard, god of mischief, occasional savior of timelines and lover of a good spotlight. Today's guest is a man who needs no introduction, but I'll give him one anyway. Genius, billionaire, philanthropist, self-appointed savior of Earth, and unfortunately, the one who outwitted me back in New York. Please welcome Tony Stark.
You know, for someone who loves theatrics, that was a pretty tame welcome. I'm disappointed, but hey, thanks for having me, Reindeer Games.
You're welcome, Tin Man. Tell me, Tony, how does it feel to be both Earth's greatest mind and its biggest ego?
Depends on the day. Most of the time, it's exhausting, but somebody's got to save the world, right? Preferably in style.
You did save the world several times. Although you also created a few problems along the way. Problems like Ultron.
Okay, first of all, Ultron was a collaborative mistake. Banner and I had good intentions. Second, you don't get to talk about bad decisions, Mr. I opened a portal and let aliens attack Manhattan.
You've got me there. But speaking of Ultron, you feared a threat from the stars. You weren't wrong. Just early.
Yeah, I saw the bigger picture, kind of my thing. Ever since the Chitauri showed up, I knew Earth wasn't ready. Hence the suits, the protocols, the tower.
And then came Thanos.
Yeah, the big purple sociopath. That snapped things into perspective, literally.
You were the first to suspect him. Carried that paranoia for years.
Because I saw what was coming. In that wormhole above New York, I saw the void. It changed me, but I had to carry it. Build, prepare, and yeah, make mistakes like signing the Sokovia Accords.
Ah yes, splitting your team in half, quite the plan.
It wasn't about sides, it was about accountability. I thought structure could help. I was wrong, especially when I found out Bucky killed my parents.
A tragic twist. The Winter Soldier, manipulated, tortured, but you weren't interested in forgiveness then.
Not when I watched the footage. Not when I saw my mom die. I lost it. I wasn't Iron Man in that moment. I was just a son watching everything fall apart.
You speak of your mother, but what of your father? Tell me, Tony, what truly defined your relationship with Howard Stark?
He wasn't just a father. He was a figure I admired but could never quite understand. He was brilliant, visionary, but always distant. I spent my life trying to live up to him, second-guessing whether I was ever enough in his eyes. But deep down, I respected him. There's this moment. Nick Fury gave me this box of my dad's stuff. Old files, old tapes, and in one of the recordings, my father looked into the camera and said something that stuck with me. Tony, my greatest creation is you. That moment broke me and built me back up all at once. It wasn't just an affirmation, it was a passing of the torch. That was his way of saying he believed in me, even if he never said it out loud when he was alive.
And you carried that belief. In your own way.
Yeah, sometimes it pushed me to the edge, but it gave me purpose.
The irony. To find understanding only after death, his and yours.
Yeah, life's funny like that.
And yet, you built a time machine. You snapped your fingers and saved half the universe.
Not bad for a guy who started in a cave with a box of scraps, right?
Impressive, noble, and suicidal.
You would have done the same.
Perhaps, or I'd have found someone else to make the sacrifice.
That's the difference between us. I couldn't let anyone else die for my mistakes.
You've evolved, Stark. From the man who sold weapons to the man who sacrificed himself.
Took me a few decades, a few bad calls, a couple world-ending threats. But yeah, I got there.
Tell me, what do you regret the most?
Not spending more time with Pepper and Morgan. I used to think saving the world was the pinnacle. That if I just built enough suits, fixed enough problems, maybe I could buy some peace. But Pepper, she showed me what real peace looked like. It wasn't in tech or towers. It was Sunday mornings, gardening with her, watching her read next to the fireplace, making her laugh even when she pretended to be annoyed. And Morgan, she changed everything. I love you 3000. That little phrase, man, it hit harder than any arc reactor surge. She looked at me like I was her entire universe. And for once, I didn't feel like I had to be Iron Man. I could just be Dad. I'd give anything for one more pancake breakfast with her. one more time hearing her say goodnight. But I did what I had to do for her, for everyone.
You speak of love like it's the strongest armor. I used to mock that, thought it was a weakness mortals clung to. But hearing you now, I wonder if I ever truly understood what strength meant. You're a lucky man, Stock.
Yeah, I was.
You spoke of your daughter, but there was another, not by blood, but in spirit. The Spiderling.
Peter, yeah, that kid blindsided me. Genius level intellect, big heart, zero impulse control. Reminded me a bit of myself if I'd grown up with less money and more morals.
You mentored him.
I tried. Kept him clothes, gave him the suit, took it back, gave it again. Typical dad stuff. He was eager to be an Avenger, to prove himself. But I just wanted him to be a kid a little longer.
He fought beside you in the war against Thanos.
He got dusted too. That moment, watching him fade away in my arms, was something I never unsee. I don't want to go, Mr. Stark. I hear it in my dreams sometimes.
A rare pain, to be helpless with someone you swore to protect.
Yeah, but he came back, and after I was gone, he kept going. I heard, well, saw in the multiversal haze, that he paid the highest price to protect everyone. Gave up his name, his friends, his entire life.
A boy who became a man the hard way.
He deserved better, but he still made the right call. That's when you know you did your job as a mentor, when they do the hard thing, even if it breaks them.
And what would you say to your younger self?
Build with your heart, not your pride, and maybe skip the whole Ultron thing.
I ask all my guests this. What message do you have for our listeners?
Simple. You don't have to be a genius, billionaire, or wear a metal suit to do the right thing. Just try. Own your mistakes, fix what you can, and never stop building something better.
Wise words from a man who once tried to privatize world peace.
And you once tried to rule Earth. Look at us now, podcasters.
Indeed, that was Tony Stark, everyone. Brilliant, flawed, and against all odds, a hero. This has been my podcast where mischief meets meaning, and even a Stark can surprise you. Until next time, mortals, choose your heroes wisely.